This is going to be another very quick one, and I'm going to make some assumptions about what your setup is because being Linux users, there's, obviously a ton of different configurations you can have, and there's a ton of different things you can do with your computer. Like your computer can double as a server, your computer can be for, recording videos like mine is, or let's say professional audio, mixing, mastering, or it could be for, you have to have like an environment for your work or something. But if we're talking about a just a computer, right? Let's say it's like your personal laptop or whatever that you basically web browse and maybe play some video games on it or something, right? You know, you don't do a whole lot on this computer that takes many hours to set up, you know what I mean? This is just your daily driver, whatever you're doing with your computer, you know? So, but even if you are using a more complex configuration, one thing we're gonna talk a bit about as kind of a follow-up uh, to the Libre hardware video, right? Where having more proprietary bullshit installed is going to cause you more problems in the long run. Having more shit on your computer is going to cause you more problems in the long run, especially if you're somebody that has catastrophic failures a lot of the time. Like you end up you're a big Arch user and your Arch breaks every 6 weeks or something. Obviously that isn't the case, but they can be. So, anyways, when you're setting up a distribution, look at how the distribution comes out of the box. You know what I mean? Like I just installed Debian today, and I kind of know what to expect when I install Debian. I know it. I don't exactly know what's going to be installed, but for the most part, I know my list of programs that I need for whatever it is I'm doing. Usually, I just set up Flatpak and install Steam and OBS, and then MPV, and that's really about all I need. The more minimalist the distribution, the more complicated that setup gets. Like Gentoo would take me about half a day to get back into, and about a full day to get fully set up. And that's just getting basic shit, like that's not even because I have a very complicated system. I run pretty much everything in the web browser, except for obviously my recording stuff and video games. So I don't need an Element client. I don't need Discord. I don't need like a YouTube app. I still use FreeTube on occasion, but that takes a few seconds to install. And Windows is the same way. If I need to install Windows, I can get up and running in a matter of minutes, really. And I'll leave some stuff uninstalled until I actually need it. Like right now, I don't have MPV installed, but getting on Debian seriously took like just a few minutes, and it was mostly because I had to look up this bullshit about adding my user to wheel. So what we're talking about though, right, is if you have a lot of stuff on your system, if you have a lot of programs on your system, or if you need dot files for whatever reason, start thinking about ways that you can make that quicker. You know what I mean? Where unless you just plan on running the same distribution forever, it's when you set up a new environment, how easy is it for you to port your stuff over to a new environment, really? And for me, it's pretty easy. All my stuff is basically default. If I want to run GNOME, if I want to run XFCE, I have to change a few settings in XFCE. But GNOME pretty much comes out of the box the way I like it, which I know is kind of heresy. But I really don't care what my desktop looks like, honestly, as long as it keeps out of my way. And I can get Flatpak and Steam and OBS installed in a matter of minutes, and Firefox comes pre-installed anyways, so I'm usually good to go on a new distribution, and that's why I don't mind hopping so much, is because when I set up my computer, pretty much everything that I have, like my webcam doesn't need any adjustments. My video capture card comes pre-installed. I don't need to mess with any pumps or fan controls. My BIOS handles all that, and power management and all that shit. The only thing I need to do is printer and scanner. I usually need a printer driver and a scanner driver. But other than that, my display comes at the same at the resolution it's supposed to. My DAC just it picks up my DAC, and I just switch over to that as my sound system. There's not really a whole lot I need to do on my computer when I first get it started. I don't need a special terminal application. I don't need anything but Nano. I don't need, just a lot of manual configuration is not something I feel like doing really. And I would start thinking about that if you have your system configured in a very advanced way. That's kind of what fucked me over on Void was I decided to fuck around and I found out that it was because I was installing LY and switching my desktop environment back and forth from KDE and Wayland, and I ended up with a lot of conflicts and shit just started breaking on XFCE. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, though, is and I haven't watched the DistroTube video yet, but it said I was just looking at my feed and it said, you know, reinstalling a distro sucks or whatever. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh yeah, that's a video I've wanted to make for a while, is trying to keep your, like, a difference between minimalist and defaults. And that's kind of what I was talking about today. So it kind of inspired me to make this video, but I doubt it has anything to do with what he's talking about, you know? This is more just, if you are a chronic distro hopper, start thinking about how complicated your setup is and how much stuff you use that isn't included in the box, because it can make your life a lot easier if you don't need a lot of dot files, a lot of extra programs, if you can manage on just a normal desktop environment with the or even when I was using i3, I barely added anything to my configuration. I kept it mostly stock because the defaults were fine for me. And that's kind of the philosophy I have now. It's not so much a minimalist philosophy, but I want to use as few programs as possible philosophy. And it's not like, I'm not saying that you can't do whatever you want with your computer, but if you are using a lot of stuff, it might be wise to start rethinking that, and start slimming down your program list. Or if you were to distro hop and you needed to mount a bunch of file systems and add all these extra utilities and stuff, I don't need to do that, but I've got like 6 drives hooked up to my computer at any given time. So I try to keep everything pretty clean, so that way in case I need to drop in a new system, it's pretty easy to do. And that's really all I wanted to say. I'm kind of repeating myself too much. Thanks.